Welcome to the first session of the Land Protectors Learning Experience. Thanks again for joining us today. I just wanted to give some quick introductions. I'm Megan Pistole-Shaw, the Education and Outreach Coordinator with SLELO Prism, and I'll let Robert introduce himself, and you can share your videos too if you'd like.
Oh, yes. You should be able to see me now. All right, yeah, my name's Robert Smith, and I am the Terrestrial Restoration and Resiliency Coordinator for SLELO Prism.
And the rest of our team includes Brittany Rogers, who is our director, Adrian Owens, who is our aquatic coordinator, and our GIS analyst, Carolyn Costner. And this webinar is the first session of our Land Protectors Learning Experience, which is a unique opportunity to learn and identify, survey, report, and manage priority terrestrial invasive species through virtual and hands-on experiences. So this session, all the sessions, will include seasonal training, webinars, and immersive field experiences. And our summer sessions are going to be held June through July, followed by fall restoration plantings and a special winter hemlock woolly adelgid learning session. And outside of watching this webinar, participants are encouraged to attend one of the guided surveys, a management removal, and a restoration session to get the full and best experience. And here's just a quick snapshot of what we will be covering today. We'll begin with some basic overviews of our program, followed by some species ID, some survey tips, suggested survey sites, community science tools, and we'll also have some time for questions at the end. And if needed, I can stay on and help troubleshoot any of the community science tools. Just to begin, I know some of you are familiar with us, but for those of you who are new, the St. Lawrence Eastern Lake Ontario Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management, or SLELO Prism for short, is one of 8 prisms that span the state of New York, creating a network of partnerships as a collaborative approach to invasive species management. And the PRISM network is funded by the Environmental Protection Fund, administered by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and hosted by various host organizations. And the SLELO region includes the 5 counties of Oneida, Oswego, Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence. And we are hosted by the Nature Conservancy, and we collaborate with many partners to protect our lands and waters from the impacts of invasive species. And SLELO Prism serves as a regional hub for invasive species information, providing resources through our website, newsletters, and publicly available reports. We also collaborate with partners and engage the community through trainings like this, events, and outreach to raise awareness. And we support invasive species management by prioritizing the highest threat species and focusing efforts where management is most feasible. Much of this work takes place in high-value priority conservation areas, and we focus restorations in these PCAs following management. And I'd just like to begin with the basics. The term invasive species is often used loosely, but what does it actually mean? An invasive species is a plant, animal, or microorganism that is not native to an area and causes harm to the environment, economy, or human health in areas in which they've been introduced to. But it's important to note that not all non-native species are invasive. Some, like apples, are beneficial, while others, like dandelions, may be a nuisance to some, but are not considered to be invasive. And what makes invasive species more impactful than other species is their ability to spread quickly and outcompete native species. This is because they lack natural predators in the environments they are introduced to, and many invasive species can reproduce in large numbers or adapt easily to environmental conditions. Invasive species are often introduced through human activity, especially global trade. They can hitchhike in cargo, ballast water, firewood, or nursery plants, and once established, they can spread rapidly across the landscape. Time plays a large factor when considering the impacts of invasive species population. This invasion curve shows that the longer a population is left unnoticed and unmanaged, the larger the population grows, making it harder to manage and contain. When considering the management of invasive species, preventing their introductions and finding species early on before their populations grow too large greatly increases our ability to control or even eliminate them. And strengthening early detection efforts is where you can play a key role. Volunteers are our eyes on the ground, and what you do really matters. The SLELO region spans over 5 counties and includes multiple water bodies and shorelines, and our staff simply can't survey everywhere. And having trained volunteers like you, keeping an eye out for invasive species, it greatly expands our capacity to spot invasives early before they become too widespread to manage. The Land Protector Learning Experience is designed to train and recruit volunteers to be part of this early detection effort. You've already taken the first step by taking this training, and afterwards you'll have the basic knowledge you need to recognize and report our priority invasive species to IMAP invasives. You can use that knowledge to conduct surveys at survey sites we've identified, or you can choose your own sites as long as they are not on private land. Additionally, you can join us for guided survey trainings and invasive species management field sessions to get hands-on experience. More information about the survey sites and field sessions will be shared later. And it's also very important that you record the time that you spend with us while you're volunteering, because we like to reward our volunteers for all your hard work. And to help you become more familiar with our priority species and tools, and to adopt survey sites, we've created a Land Protectors dashboard. And I'm going to share a quick video to give you a tour of these resources. Let me know if you can hear sound. You can find the Land Protectors webpage and dashboard on our website at sleloinvasives.org. And then you click on the volunteer button, and then on the submenu, volunteer to protect lands and waters, which will open up this. Oh, what happened? Page here for our volunteer surveillance network, which both of the programs, the Land Protectors and Water Protectors, are part of our VSN. If you scroll down on this page, it'll also give you all the information you need for the community science tools that you'll be using for the program. And then to get into the Land Protectors dashboard, you click on Protect Lands, and it opens up the special Land Protectors webpage. There's a lot of information on this page. Everything that you need to know and all the resources that you use will be on this webpage and serves as your one-stop shop, if you will. If you scroll down, you'll see links to lots of different resources and a special toolkit with more guides and brochures and other information for you. And then each of the focal species or our priority species are listed on this page as well, which we'll go over during our session today. And there's also IMAP invasives distribution data. This is real-time data for each of the focal species, so you can use that to help you identify your survey sites that you want to go to. And these are interactive maps. And if you scroll up to the top, you'll see the Adopt a Trail button here. If you click on that, it opens up the Land Protectors dashboard. And this is where you can adopt a trail to survey for the various priority species. There's also a liability waiver that you must sign to be part of the program, and there's links to this in multiple spots throughout the dashboard. It's also very important that you record your time while you're volunteering for the program. So there's links for that in here, as well as on the main Land Protectors webpage as well. Now this map is interactive. On the left-hand side, it has the focal species here. And then on the right-hand side, it has a legend with acronyms for each of those priority focal species. And to adopt a trail, you can use the plus and minus signs to zoom in and zoom out, or you can just use your mouse to click and move the map around, and your cursor here to zoom in and out that way. And then to adopt one of these survey sites, you simply just click on one of the points. Information for that specific survey site will pop up. And you can also view GPS or view this on Google Maps, which is great for helping you navigate to there. You can see that you can get the directions and everything sent. Right, that'll bring you right to the site. And then to sign up, you just hit sign up now. And eventually a form will open up, and then you just fill out that form. You just fill in each of the fields. If you don't have an iMap or an iNaturalist account, there's a link here to prompt you to set one up, but you should have one set up by now. And then again, the liability waiver is also linked in here. Pro tip, when you're opening it, if you right click and hit open link in a new tab, it'll open it up in a new tab and it won't close out your form. And then you just select if you're going to sign it, email it back to me, or if you're having problems with it, and then you hit submit, and then you're signed up to adopt that specific suggested survey site. Now, if you're trying to select a survey site and it's already adopted, it will turn gray. But if you want to visit that site, even if somebody else has adopted it, that's okay. Just reach out to me and I'll add you as one of the volunteers for that site. No worries. Okay. So this next session, we're going to cover the priority species that you are going to be surveying for, and the observation data that you provide us will help us to strategize our management efforts. And Robert's going to lead this session.
All right. Hello, everybody again. I'm going to start off by talking about beech leaf disease, also known as BLD. It's a tree disease that causes leaf deformities and leads to mortality in native and ornamental beech tree species. BLD is believed to be caused by the nematode Lilalenchus crenate McKinney, which you see pictured right there on the slide. It is unknown whether the nematode causes all of the damage or if it's associated with another pathogen, such as a bacteria, or a fungus, or a virus. Research on possible treatments is ongoing. American beech trees are an important component of our northern hardwood forest type, and which makes up more than half of the forested land in New York. Many wildlife species rely on beech mass as a main source of energy. The loss of beech trees would cause changes in forest structure that would affect the whole ecosystem. All right. American beech trees, or Fagus granifolia, are best identified by their smooth, light bluish-gray bark, often resembling elephant skin. They're slender, have sharply pointed brown buds, alternate branching, and papery leaves with parallel veins that end in small little teeth. The trees retain the trees often retain light tan leaves through the winter and grow about 60 to 80 feet tall. BLD symptoms appear in the leaves and include striping, curling, or a leathery texture. These signs may be visible year-round, as some beech trees may hold their leaves in the winter. Stripes are most noticeable on the underside of the leaves, and you may see them by looking up into the canopy or holding the branches up to the light. Eventually, affected leaves will wither, dry, and yellow. Striping on leaves is most visible, like we mentioned there, from the underside. And you said if you hold the leaves up to light, you can see the dark stripes along the veins. Some infested trees only have a few leaves that show symptoms, so yeah, you have to search carefully through the canopy sometimes to actually find those couple that have the striping. BLD has been reported in the Toledo region in our southern region, so Oswego and Oneida counties. So if you're, on the lookout for this, it's like there you're probably, most likely to see it in our southern regions, but it is moving north, so it's, great if you can be out there north of that zone and seeing if the beach leaf disease is now has moved up to those areas. All right, I want to talk about elm zigzag sawfly next. Elm zigzag sawfly is an invasive insect native to Asia, specifically parts of China and Japan. Its common name comes from the zigzag feeding pattern of the larvae, which you can see right on the slide. Elm zigzag sawflies feed exclusively on elm trees, and elms are threatened by them in a variety of habitats, including arboretums, botanical gardens, roadside trees, urban plantings, and natural woodlands. Elm zigzag sawfly larvae are light green with a black band on their head and T-shaped markings above the second and third pair of true legs, which you again see in the slide. Adults are black with yellowish white colored legs and smoky brown colored wings. The cocoons are loosely spun and net-like. They can be found attached to either leaves or other objects like fence posts. To identify an elm tree, look for a combination of four key features. Asymmetrical or lopsided leaf bases, doubly toothed edges, alternate branching pattern, and a distinct vase or umbrella-like shape to the tree. All right, survey tips. Um, Optimal timing, but they're May to September is when you have the highest potential for spotting damage. There are anytime from May to September is a good time to look for them with the highest potential for spotting the damage in later summer. What to look for? Inspect the lower branches for leaves with zigzag feeding pattern between leaf margins or heavily defoliated leaves. Small pale green larvae with dark bands on their heads. In the spring, you'll see net-like cocoons on the underside of the leaves in summer. All right. All right, so where are they currently present in Coeloprism? Elm zigzag sawfly has been reported in St. Lawrence County since 2022. But there are bordering populations right around the Coeloprism area, areas such as Syracuse or Oneonta or Saratoga Springs. So, the elm zigzag sawfly could enter from all different directions, and it's not necessarily, only to be found in St. Lawrence County. It's like it might be entering in other counties, already or in, the near future. All right, next I wanted to talk about the spotted lanternfly, or SLF. It's an invasive plant hopper native to China that was introduced to the U.S. on a shipment of rocks brought to Pennsylvania in 2014. It's easily spread by people as the insect lays eggs on nearly any flat surface and is known to hitchhike on vehicles and equipment. There is a high concern of the impacts SLF will have on New York's grapes, apples, and hops, which are economically significant crops for the agricultural industry in New York and across the nation. Additionally, SLF feeds on forest species that are important to New York farmers, such as maples and walnut trees. All right, the appearance of SLF changes depending on the life cycle stage. U.S. infestations of SLF have shown to have one generation per year and have four nymphal stages followed by an adult stage. Nymphs hatch from egg masses in spring and molt through the nymphal stages, initially being black with white spots and eventually gaining red coloration. The nymphs will transition to winged adults around late July in New York State, followed by mating and laying eggs through the fall. The females lay one or two egg masses each, containing 30 to 60 eggs, which will overwinter and hatch the following spring. All right. SLF favors Tree of Heaven as its host tree. And it also happens to be a fast-growing, highly invasive tree. So we're just going to, talk about some key features so that you can be on the lookout for this, because this is a tree that you can report as an invasive, but also a tree that you would go to see if you can spot spotted lanternfly. Key identifying fires include the long compound leaves with what they call thumbs, which are also known as glandular teeth at the base of each leaflet. The leaves also have a foul odor like burnt peanut butter when crushed, and heart-shaped leaf scars. And also the bark is a smooth gray and resembles a cantaloupe skin. Um, Alanthus, or tree of heaven, are most often confused with staghorn sumac and black walnut, but neither the sumac or the walnut leaves have glandular tooth at the base of the leaf. Um, So search for the tree of heaven. Yeah, so look for those glandular teeth, and you'll be able to easily tell between the tree of heaven from the sumac or walnut. Um, Tree of heaven is frequently occurring in urban areas along fences and also along fences and roadsides. So that's a good area to to search out for tree of heaven along urban corridors. All right, survey tips. Optimal timing. Fall to spring is the best time to look for egg masses. Spring to fall is the best time to look for nymphs and adults. Where should you look? Prioritize areas with tree of heaven or nearby areas with hops, grape vineyards, orchards, or maple tree stands. Um, Also inspect firewood, vehicles, RVs, and patio furnitures, especially if you are located in or traveling from a quarantine zone. Um, Things to look for, inspect smooth surfaces, including tree bark, stones, and outdoor furniture for gray, mud-like egg masses. And look for the nymphs and adults clustering around on the trunks of trees. Survey areas also for honeydew, which is a sugary, sticky liquid that they release, or black sooty mold at the base of the trees. All right, as far as where are they located currently in Sligo Prism? Well, at the moment, we don't have a known. They're not known to be present in the Sligo region. Um, However, there are confirmed populations in areas bordering our region. Onondaga County, there is, right to our south, and they have a population in Syracuse. Um, it- they could be here now. We really don't know. That's why we need your help to go out there and be on the lookout for these, because they're very close and they could be here if they're not already anytime soon. All right. Yes, we encourage you to join a special SLF workshop we're hosting with Finger Lakes Prism on August 21st at Green Lakes State Park. And announcements on this will be sent out soon. Hey, moving on to porcelainberry. Porcelainberry is an invasive woody vine in the grape family from Northeast Asia. It was introduced to the U.S. as an ornamental plant, popular for planting in yards to serve as a natural privacy barrier. The impacts, Pursleyberry easily creates mats of thick vines, which smother native vegetation and girdle trees. If established in a residential or commercial area, it's really difficult to remove from the fences, porches, and buildings, and it can incur costs, significant costs for property owners. Okay, identification. The leaves of porcelainberry vary in shape from a simple heart-shaped leaf with coarse teeth to a deeply lobed leaf with rigid edges. The flowers are green to white and form in small clusters in midsummer. Fruit are small berries that can range in color from purple to blue and have a shine to them similar to porcelain, hence the name. Berries are present on mature plants from late October to early November, and are one of the sure ways to distinguish invasive porcelainberry from native grapes, because the native grapes, their fruit looks much different. Bark has distinctive raised pores called lenticels, and it also doesn't peel in narrow strips like native grapes. In addition, the porcelainberry, if you cut through the stem, you'll see porcelainberries have white pith, which is the center portion of the stem, while grapes have a brown pith. All right. Porcelainberry was reported in Potsdam and Ogdensburg in St. Lawrence County. So that's the only county that we've had a known occurrence of it in. Uh, Both were likely introduced as ornamental garden plants. The porcelainberry at Potsdam was removed by SLILO staff and is monitored for regrowth. The Ogdensburg site was reported as a community garden space and was removed by the community staff prior to our survey, which found no plants present at the site. All right, next I'd like to talk a little bit about invasive bittersweet. Invasive bittersweet is a deciduous woody perennial vine that is native to Eastern Asia. It invades a great variety of sites, including forests, roadsides, and urban areas. It outcompetes trees, shrubs, and other vegetation through climbing and shading, and may also kill trees by girdling them. The seeds are dispersed by water, humans, and animals. Birds and small mammals are attracted to the redder inner portion of the fruit, and they spread the seeds after they eat them. All right, invasive bittersweet can be mistaken for American bittersweet, which is a great native vine that is found in our area. The leaves of the native variety typically have long elliptical leaves, while the invasive ones are typically a little rounder, more oval in shape. But I found there's a lot of variability. So that can be a difficult way to distinguish. The most reliable way to identify them is by their flowers or fruit. On American bittersweet, the flowers and berries only grow in clusters at the very tips of the stems. In contrast, the invasive variety produce fruit all along the vine where the leaves meet the stem, otherwise known as axils, and has yellow instead of orange outer husks. All right, optimal timing to do your surveys. Late fall and winter or when the fruit are present is the best time. Where to look? Well, bittersweet thrives in high sun environment. So target forest edges, roadsides, fence rows, utility corridors, and areas with recent canopy disturbances like blowdowns. Mature vines climb high into the canopy and can girdle large trees. Scan the upper and mid-story canopies for the strangling vines. What to look for during the fall? The leaves of most native trees and shrubs have dropped, but bittersweet leaves tend to remain green, or they'll turn a bright, conspicuous yellow. So you can look for them, during that time of the year as being still leafed, while other, shrubs and trees are not. During the winter, look for thick woody vines, often wrapped around the tree trunks and limbs, and bright yellow fruit casings split open with red berries. All right, where to look for invasive bittersweet? Well, right now we have known presence in Oneida, Oswego, Jefferson, and St. Lawrence counties. But I would not be surprised whatsoever if it's also in Lewis County. We just not don't have a confirmed sighting of that. If somebody would like to go do that investigation, that would be great, and we can see if we it's actually there as well. All right. Okay, I would like to talk a little bit about black and pale swallowwort. Yeah, we have two species there in New York State that are both invasive. They're also known as dog strangling vines, and they are perennial and herbaceous. Um, Black swallowwort is native to Europe near the Mediterranean Sea, while the pale swallowwort is native to Ukraine and parts of Russia. Impacts. Swallowwort aggressively chokes out desirable species. They are problematic in Christmas plant tree plantations, perennial crop fields, pastures, roadsides, disturbed areas, and natural areas. Um, yeah, when we have quite a large swallowwort problem there in our area. Um, Pure stands of swallowwort suppress the establishment of other species and interfere with forest regeneration. They are related to milkweeds, and they are toxic to livestock, deer, and monarch butterfly larvae, which sometimes get fooled into laying their eggs on these plants because they're closely related to milkweed. But the problem is their larvae do not survive when they emerge from their eggs and try to feed on swallowwort. All right, optimal time to survey for swallowwort. Well, June is the best time there for spotting them with flowers. July to August, you'll see them with the seed pods. Where to look? Sunny, disturbed areas, roadsides, and forest edges. But if the forest has enough light that coming through it, you will see areas sometimes where the understory of the forest is actually covered in swallowwort. So don't necessarily ignore forest areas. Just be on the lookout for forests that have a little bit more light that gets down to the ground level, and they might actually be a good place to look for the swallowwort there. Things to look for: the leaves are opposite in arrangement, oval to wedge shape with pointed tips. Generally, the leaves are 2.5 to 4.5 inches long and 2 to 2 3/4 inches wide, and they're glossy and medium to more medium green in the pale swallowwort, more darker green, usually in black swallowwort. Fruits and seeds. The fruit is a smooth, slender, pointed pod that looks like a small milkweed pod. The pods are light green in color and are abundant during July and August. Like milkweed, the pods open in late summer, and they release large numbers of downy seeds, which could be can produce up to 2,000 seeds per square yard. The flowers are star-shaped and are small and fleshy with 5 petals. The flowers of the pale swallowwort are reddish brown color, while the flowers of the black swallowwort are purple to blackish in color. As I, they both bloom in June to July. All right. In Celuloprism, they are present in everywhere in every county, as you can see. But there is a concentrated population right along the eastern Lake Ontario shoreline, as you can see on the map. All right. Last but not least, I'd like to talk a little bit about yellow iris. It's a flowering plant native to North Africa, Europe, and Asia. It's identifiable by its bright yellow flowers, which have led to its popularity as an ornamental plant. It has, because it has a very nice, pretty yellow flower. It was introduced back in the late 1700s, and and since it's been popular for all that period of time, that's really contributed to its continued spread. It grows along edges of rivers, ponds, streams, open and forested floodplains, along freshwater shorelines, wetlands, and marshes. So it's a water-loving plant. Anywhere nearby to water is a good place to look for yellow iris, whether it's wetland or pond or river or lake. It forms dense monotypic stands and expands quickly through rhizomes or underground root system. It easily replaces or displaces important riparian plants, causing a lot of a loss of vital habitat. Additionally, the root system of yellow flag iris can narrow waterways and it can clog irrigation systems. And all parts of the plant are toxic to livestock and other animals. Okay, best time to look for yellow iris is in the spring when it is in bloom. Otherwise, it can be easily confused for native blue flag iris and other wetland plants such as cattails or sweet flag. Um, Use the characteristics described. You know, well, basically, the best thing to look for is the flowers. The flowers are the rhizomes. So, if you see here, if they're in flower, it's super easy to tell the difference between a yellow and a blue flag iris. That's the best time to look for them. Um, if there's not in flower, look, you can check the rhizome, so you can kind of dig out a little bit of the root system and look at it. And if you check and if they're thick and fleshy with a pinkish orange color to them, then you're looking at yellow iris. Well, because blue flag iris has white rhizomes. And much like pale there in black swallowwort, yellow iris is present throughout the Silo region, with populations really concentrated in near water, whether wetland, riparian, pond, lake, um, anywhere throughout the Silo region in those wet areas is a good place to survey for yellow iris. And that's all I have on that.
Thank you,
You're
Robert.
you're welcome.
Okay. So now that you know what to look for, we'll share where to look. So Robert and I have selected the survey sites and we used IMAP Invasive's confirmed observation data. And each of the survey sites is within about 20 to 50 miles of confirmed observations, or they are within close proximity to a suspected pathway. So I'd like to mention that some of the sites do have multiple species that you can survey for, and that the sites that we selected for our priority tree pests, like the elm zigzag sawfly, they were selected using GIS layers and information from partners and land managers to identify public lands that are recorded to have specific tree species that are a host to each forest pest. However, we haven't visited every site, so you may not find the pest host tree at every site listed, and you're actually our first year volunteers to go out and do this, so you're helping us to ground truth. So we're counting on you to let us know if we should choose a different site to feature for specific invasives. And you can view more details and adopt these sites on that Land Protectors dashboard that I shared earlier today. So before you visit any of the survey sites, please keep your safety in mind. Be sure to bring the 10 essentials with you on the trails, which include, tools for navigation, light, first aid protection from the elements, food, water, survival tools to build a fire should you need to. It's also important to practice leave no trace concepts to protect these beautiful places that you'll visit. Just be sure to plan your trip by checking the weather and learning the rules at the site. Travel only on marked trails, pack out all waste, take only memories and leave all the artifacts where you find them, minimize campfires, which I don't think you'll be doing any of that, but just in case, and be courteous of others on the trail, like keeping your dog on a leash if you choose to bring your furry friends with you. Also, be sure to clean your hiking shoes with a boot brush before taking a hike and after. And for extra precaution, spray the bottom of your shoes with Lysol to disinfect them, especially in areas that you're suspecting beach leaf disease will be present. So for beach leaf disease, there are 6 survey sites that we've selected. Chattagouay State Forest, which is in Boylston, New York. It has marked but ungroomed trails that fall along Orwell Brook, passing through northern hardwood and conifer forests. Then we also have Forest Park, and it's a community trail system with a blend of flat paved paths and rustic dirt tracks bordering the west branch of Fish Creek and Mad River. It has a dense canopy of mature trees, and it provides exceptional early morning songbird habitat. So if you're a birder, you might enjoy going there. And then Lake Julia Preserve is actually a very beautiful nature conservancy preserve. It's a sanctuary and it features a 2-mile loop trail over forested terrain. And it also has red spotted newts and pickerel frogs and spotted salamanders have reported there. And then we have the Black River Trail, and it's actually a wheelchair accessible state historic park trail. And it's completely flat, and it's about a 4.5-mile paved trail that hugs the rocky shoreline of the Black River. And the Tug Hill State Forest, there are multiple marked trails along the Inman Gulf Canyon, offering scenic vistas, dramatic shale cliffs, and a beautiful view of 100-foot Rainbow Falls. And Whitaker Park is nestled in the eastern slope of the Tug Hill Plateau. It has wooded trails and it leads to a pristine waterfall and overlooks panoramic views of the Black River Valley and the Adirondack foothills. Some of the same survey sites for beach leaf disease are areas where we'd like to have you survey for swallowwort. So again, the Tug Hill State Forest, the John Young's Trail, Oak Rim Trail, and Inman Glide Trail. And again, Whitaker Park. There are 4 sites for elm zigzag sawfly in Jefferson County. We have the Minna Anthony Common Nature Center on Wellesley Island. It has very well marked paths with gentle elevation that travel over wooded wetlands, open granite outcrops, and 3 miles of shoreline along the St. Lawrence River, offering unique views of native pollinator gardens and ancient glacial potholes. The 3 sites in St. Lawrence County are in state forests where there may not be well-maintained trails, in which case just look for elm zigzag sawfly along the parking area and roadsides that aren't busy locations. And these sites include Lonesome Bay, Pleasant Lake, and Yellow Lake State Forests. There are 3 survey sites for spotted lanternfly. In Oneida County, the Albert J. Woodford Memorial State Forest, and it's in Singerville and Bridgewater, New York. It spans over 2,000 acres and features over 11 miles of multi-use trails. It also contains Tassel Hill, which is the highest point in Oneida County, and it offers scenic routes popular for hiking and mountain biking, cross-country skiing. So if you enjoy those activities, you'd like that trail. And the Rome Sand Plains unique area and features a network of more than 6 miles of marked trails. And it formed 10,000 years ago by glacial Lake Iroquois. And it's just a rare inland pine barren environment. And it blends, you can see some sand dunes, some low peat bogs, rich pitch pine forests, and lots of wetland areas to explore as well. In Oswego County, the Oswego Recreational Trail spans roughly 26 total miles along the historic abandoned right-of-way of the New York, Ontario, and Western Railroad. And the trail is permanently split in 2, so either side of the trail can be adopted to survey for signs of spotted lanternfly. And there are 3 suggested survey sites for bittersweet and porcelain berry. 2 are in St. Lawrence County, the Munter Hiking Trail, which is part of Clarkson University's trail system that follows the Racket River from Maple Street Bridge to Bayside Cemetery in Potsdam. And then we have the Southville State Forest, and it has more than 3 miles of pleasant hiking with multi-use trails through a mixed forest of northern hardwoods and pine. And then in Lewis County, the Lesser State Forest, the Carpenter Road Trail offers 8 miles of scenic trails in the Tug Hill Plateau in Turin. And there are 2 additional survey sites for porcelainberry in Ogdensburg near a garden space that once had porcelainberry that Robert mentioned earlier. The Abbey Picket Trail at the Fort de la Presentation in Ogdensburg, New York, is a scenic, mostly flat, 1-mile loop trail that winds along the St. Lawrence and Oswegatchie rivers. It features beautiful panoramic waterfront views, historical markers. It's an excellent vantage point for bird watching and ship watching. And then in downtown Ogdensburg near City Hall, there's a few blocks that we're wanting people to monitor. So Washington, Ford, and Riverside Drive. And then Otter Creek State Forest in Gregg, New York is a very big place to explore. It has 65 miles of interlocking trail systems. It features wide sandy paths. If you like to do horseback riding, that's a great spot for that. It'll wind through hardwood forests, pine plantations, and pristine river corridors on the western edge of the Adirondacks. It'll have some nice views as well. And the Great Bear Recreation Area in Fulton, Oswego. This nearly 10-mile trail network has a flat and dirt tracks, historic towpaths along the Oswego River, and historic Oswego Canal, and it provides great habitat for nesting osprey and native woodland flora. So if you like to look for those species, you can find them there. And then the Rome Sand Plains unique area, again, the trails, there's beautiful areas for you to explore with sand dunes and bogs and whatnot, and the pitch pines. And you can also find some wild blue lupine if you like to look at those flowers. Okay, so that's the end of the overview for the suggested survey sites. And next we're going to dive into the community science tools. I'm going to just give a brief overview and demonstration of the 3 community science tools that you're going to use to report observations and to help you identify species: IMAP invasives, iNaturalist, and Seek. And you should have received instructions on how to create free user accounts and download the mobile apps for each of these. You can follow along with your app as I go, or you can just watch. And again, if you have any issues, I can stay on a little bit longer and help you troubleshoot those. IMAP Invasive is New York's official invasive species database. It is supported through a collaboration among the New York Natural Heritage Program, SUNY ESF, and the DEC. And data is submitted by conservation professionals and the general public. And the data you submit really matters. It helps us learn where new species populations are emerging, so we can give a rapid response and hopefully stop the spread. It helps us to strategize invasive species management and control initiatives, and it can track the effectiveness of treatments over time as well. As mentioned, IMAP has a free mobile app that lets you report observations quickly and easily, even without Wi-Fi connectivity, which is perfect for making reports in the field. There's also an online platform where you can report observations and view distribution data and report and view treatment and survey data. And that's at the nyimapinvasives.org website. And the observations and data reported to IMAP can be viewed by anyone on a public-facing interactive map, which has multiple layers and filtering options, and it makes it really easy for you to find the data that you're looking for. The maps that we've been sharing throughout this presentation are actually from IMAP Invasives. And IMAP can also be used to set up notification alerts for specific invasive species, which is really helpful for us and also if you're a project leader. So next I'm going to play a video here that demonstrates how to use the IMAP Invasives mobile app. This is the IMAP Invasives mobile app. On the top left-hand corner, you'll see 3 lines. If you click on that, it opens up your preferences. And then here, you select New York for your jurisdiction species list. And then you type in your username is going to be the email you use to make your account, and then the password that you use to set up your account. If you haven't set up an account yet with IMAP Invasives, you can create one by clicking this Create Account or Reset Password button. That's a hyperlink that brings you to another page to do that. If you hit retrieve IMAP lists, it'll refresh your user account and sync the lists with it. You can choose scientific or common name by hitting these buttons here. And then the customized species list, if you click that, it'll let you choose the different species that you would like to survey for. I suggest including each of the priority species that are included in this training, in addition to a fake species for testing, just because you're learning and it'll help you be able to just do a couple test runs. But as you can see, it's a pretty extensive list here. By choosing your species from this profile area, it'll minimize this extensive list when you're out in the field actually doing your observations. Once you've selected your species, just hit OK. And then I leave everything else as default. The projects, so everybody who takes this training and creates an IMAP invasives account will be added to the SLELO Volunteer Surveillance Network. I will do that for you, and I'll also show you how to do that yourself a little bit later. But eventually you'll see SLELO Volunteer Surveillance Network pop up on your preference page in the default project. And just ignore default organization for now because you won't be part of one of those. And then hit save. And then to make an observation, it's quite simple. You hit the add observation button. You can take a photo using your camera, or you can select one that you've already taken from your camera library. And then right at the top, you'll toggle on that custom list to get the shortened list that we just created. And I'm going to hit fake species for testing now. And then you'll hit species detected or species not detected. And this is important because we want to know if you do or if you don't find a species, especially for high profile species like spotted lanternfly or hemlock woolly adelgid, zigzag sawfly, because they are traditionally, forest pests, and there's a lot of forested land. So if we know a trained volunteer has gone out to a specific survey site and they didn't find something, then we can focus our survey efforts elsewhere. So for now, I'm just going to hit species not detected. And then when you scroll down, you'll see a map, and it should be generally where you are when you're taking the observation, where your latitude and longitude listed. Eventually, you will have the SLELO Volunteer Surveillance Network for your special project, but for the time being, you don't have to worry about that. And you can also put the time that you've searched for the species in minutes here, and any observation comments you may have, for example, the number of trees that you surveyed for a specific forest pest. And then you would hit save, which I'm going to have to just take a quick picture because it won't let you just take one up with me and put it out because I'm inside. Okay, and then you can scroll down and hit save, and it'll give you this card. And then to edit, you can just hit the edit button and get right back in there. And then to upload it to the online database, you have to check mark and then hit upload selected. But I'm actually just going to delete mine because this was just to show you how to use it. And then when you hit delete, it'll just disappear from the app. And that is how you use the IMAP Invasives mobile app. Okay. So as mentioned in the video, SLELO Prism has a special project that our land protectors will be a part of. And again, I will add everybody from the training today. As long as you've made an IMAP account, I'll be able to find you and add you myself. But you can request to be added to our special project or other special projects by following these steps. So you log into nyimapinvasives.org, like their website. And then after you sign in, you'll see on the top left-hand side a little circle with 3 lines in it. You just click on those 3 lines and it opens a drop-down menu. And then you select projects. And from that menu, it'll look like this this here, the screenshot in gray, and then there's a magnifying glass, and you just type in the name of the project into that search area, and then it'll pop up, and then you click on it, and then you just hit join project, and then I'll get a notification, or whoever owns the project that you're joining will get a notification and be able to add you. Oh, and I'd also like to mention the reason why we want you to join the special project. It just makes it easier for us to query the data. So when we're wanting to pull together all the data for our volunteer surveillance network and the land protectors and our other water protectors program, we can just toggle on a filter that says, your projects, and we can pick that project and it'll show all of the data from all of the members of it instead of us having to filter by individual species or filter by individual users. It just makes it faster and easier for us to access that data. It's okay if, you happen to, make an observation without picking that project, we'll still be able to find the data. It just makes it a little bit faster for us on the back end. Okay, so the next community science tool that I want to share is iNaturalist, and it's a forum that allows you to share photos of species that you encounter with a network of people who can help with identification and can answer questions. It can also help you identify species using AI technology. And I'm just going to play a quick video and let me know if you can't hear the sound.
Okay, so you've installed the iNaturalist app and created an account. Time to get outside and record your first observation. Here's how to do it. Any living thing, like a plant, animal, or fungus, can be an observation on iNaturalist. Once you find something you'd like to record, just tap Observe and take a photo. You can review your picture, then hit Next if it looks good. To identify it, hit What did you see? If you have an internet connection, iNaturalist will suggest 10 visually similar species and often a common ancestor. You can choose one of those or search for species name. On this observation details screen, you can add more photos of the same organism or write a note. Date, time, and location have been automatically added. You can also change the geoprivacy of the observation. Mark whether it's captive or cultivated, or add it to a project. Once you're finished, just hit share. Your observation will be uploaded for everyone to see and identify. That's it. Keep on exploring and share.
So Cellular Prism also has a special project in iNaturalist, and we ask that if being one of our volunteers, if you're using iNaturalist, that you please join the Cellular Prism special project. And it's easy to do. So these are the instructions using the mobile app. So if you have that open, you can follow along now, or you can do this later. I'll include some instructions in your follow-up email. So first you open the app and then you right click on the side menu. And then you tap the magnifying glass on the upper right hand side. So this is what it'll look like. We'll just go through these animations. There we go. So here is the side menu, and then you just click on the magnifying glass, type in Cellular Prism, and then our project looks like this. You can see our logo there. And then you select that and then join project. And then whenever you make an observation, you'll have this option within the observation to add it to the project, and Cellular Prism will pop up there once you've joined ours, and you can just select it. And every time you make an observation moving forward, we'll be able to see it in our project. And then instructions for joining online. This is at the iNaturalist.org website. So after logging in with your credentials, on the far top right-hand side, you'll see projects that I have outlined in red here. You click that. And again, a search bar will pop up, and you just type in Cellular Prism and then join this project. And then that's it. And I'd also like to mention that iNaturalist data can be shared with IMAP invasives, but it has to meet 3 criteria. So first, your observation must be one of over 600 species listed on IMAP's species list for New York, which you saw earlier today when I was scrolling through all those species. It has to be something listed and recognized as invasive in New York. And your observation must be confirmed by 66% of those who commented on the observation. And just note that this can take some time to happen. And also you have to give permission for your data to be shared. So you can do this in the app by opening your settings, selecting the default license, and then choosing any of the licenses with the green GBIF, which is Global Biodiversity Information Facility. If you click on that, it makes it so you're giving permission for your data to be shared. And it'll look like this last screenshot here with the green box. And then the last tool that I'm going to feature is Seek, and it uses artificial intelligence to identify organisms. The observations you make in Seek are private unless you sync your account with iNaturalist. So I'll show you how to do that in a few moments. But for now, let's just watch this video so you can learn about how to use Seek. Right, and I'd just like to mention that if you're going to use Seek, that we ask that you do sync your account with iNaturalist. To do this, you just open the Seek mobile app and you scroll down until you see this here, log in with iNaturalist. You click that and it will ask you to log in with your iNaturalist credentials or make an account. And then once you've done that, you should see a message saying that you've linked your Seek with iNaturalist. And then now when you make observations, you'll see an option within the observation to post it to iNaturalist. And if you want to do that, you just hit post to iNaturalist and it will put it in your iNaturalist account as well. And when using these tools, we have some recommendations. So we would like you to use IMAP invasives to report your invasive species. And if you're going to use iNaturalist, we ask that you primarily report native species and also do that to the SLILO PRISM project. Because like I mentioned, for the invasive species to, crosswalk or be shared with IMAP invasives, they have to meet that 3 criteria. And if they don't, then the observation could be lost or just take too long for us to receive it. And just use Seek as a backup identification tool, and then just be sure to sync your Seek app with iNaturalist if you're going to use that, but don't use it as a main reporting method. And I'd also like to mention that when reporting observations to IMAP and all the other platforms mentioned today, it is very important that the photos you provide are of high quality because the photos are what we use on the other side to verify your observations. So the photos on the left here are just examples of what to avoid. Anything that's blurry or too far away is difficult for us to verify. And the photos on the right are examples of good, clear photos. And when possible, it's best to place something behind your specimen just to sort of provide a background and to also help your camera focus. And remember to wipe off your lens before taking a photo. So your next steps will be to join at least one of the in-person field sessions just to get more hands-on experience and practice what you've learned. So we'll be leading guided survey trainings next week on June 12th for beach leaf disease at Salmon River Falls and on June 16th for elm zigzag sawfly at the Walter Pratt Memorial in Brasher Falls. And I know some of you have already signed up for some of these. And you can get hands-on experience with invasive species management by joining us on June 11th at Black Pond and then June 27th at El Dorado Preserve. and also July 22nd at Lakefield Wildlife Management Area. We'll be doing some removal efforts on those dates. And then in the fall, we'll have some restoration plantings in October on the 16th and the 17th, and we'd love to have you. It's a beautiful time, and it's very rewarding to, instead of be ripping plants out, we'll be putting plants in and restoring the habitats. So we hope you can join us for those. And then in the winter, I know it's way far out. No one wants to think about winter right now, but if you're one of those people that's always looking for something to get you outside in the winter, this is a great opportunity for you to join our hemlock woolly adelgid learning experience, and you can help us survey for hemlock woolly adelgid throughout the winter. And to view a full schedule, you can just scan this QR code, but don't worry, you'll get it in your follow-up email, and you've likely already seen these sessions listed when you signed up for this webinar. And I'd also like to mention that New York Invasive Species Awareness Week, or NISA, starts next week on June 8th and runs through the 14th. And, invasive species related events are going to be held across New York State to raise awareness and engage community members. And SLELO and our partners will be hosting events in our region that you're welcome to join. You can get details for all of these opportunities mentioned on our events page. And again, a link will be sent up in your follow-up email. So we hope that you will join us. And I'd also just like to say, well, from all of Team SLELO actually, is that we really, really appreciate you joining us today. And we're very excited to get to know you, and that you're joining our wonderful community of volunteers. What you do really matters, and we're very happy that you're here. And that concludes our presentation. We can open the floor for any questions or comments. And if anybody needs help with any of the community science tools, I can also help with those things. Feel free to come off mute if you're able to. Everybody should be able to anyway. And if you can't come off mute, you can just use the chat. And it's also okay if nobody has any questions as well. That means we just did a really good job with our presentation. All right, I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so I suppose everybody is all set for questions and the community science tools apps. And if anything comes up, later on, feel free to reach out to myself or Robert. Our contact information is listed on the slide here. And also, if you want to reach out to Brittany Rogers, our director, or you want to talk about aquatic plants with Adrian, our aquatic coordinator, or anything with GIS information systems, Carolyn's the person to reach out for that. And we greatly appreciate you joining us today, and we hope you have a good day. Thank you, Robert.